Today I will be looking at Twilight Princess. The story follows a new Link, and likely descendant of the Link from Ocarina of Time. The new Link must save Zelda from the Twilight invasion, led by Zant, who is being manipulated by Ganondorf. Link is also helped in his adventure by Midna, the ruler of the Twilight. Let me begin by saying that I am not going to try and line up the various pieces of Hyrule Field to the Breath of the Wild map. This is the only game where Hyrule Field is not a continuous area within the game. Therefore, I will only focus on the locations that surround Hyrule Field. When looking at the Twilight Princess map, the primary anchor for the entire map is Castle Town and Hyrule Castle. Now let's take a look at the various locations of Twilight Princess and where they would line up in Breath of the Wild. The location of Twilight Princess's Castle Town and Hyrule Castle is in the same location as the Castle Town and Hyrule Castle in Breath of the Wild. When looking at the fountain in Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild, you can see a very similar pattern to the fountains. The Breath of the Wild fountain is a bit more decorative and damaged, but some of the same basic structures and statues, like the royal family crest on the top, are strikingly similar. Also, looking at the approach to Hyrule Castle from the fountain, you can see a gradual incline towards the castle. The castle in Breath of the Wild has a few changes to the overall structure, but it does have a very similar structure to the Twilight Princess castle. With these two examples, I can say that Castle Town and Hyrule Castle are in the same location between Breath of the Wild and Twilight Princess. Snow Peak is a snow-covered mountain range in Twilight Princess and is in the northwesternmost point on the map. Looking at the Breath of the Wild map, the only place that is northwest of the castle that is snow-covered is the Hyrule Mountains. I am unsure of where the exact location of Snow Peak is within Hyrule Mountains, but this is the most likely location of Snow Peak when placed on the Breath of the Wild map due to location and climate. Next, both of the Gerudo Deserts are located southwest of the castle in Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild. Placing the Twilight Princess map in the Gerudo Desert of Breath of the Wild can be accomplished by looking at the Arbiter's Grounds. The location of the Arbiter's Grounds is an anchor point for these two maps. By lining up the Arbiter's Grounds from both games, Twilight Princess's Gerudo Desert would line up along the southernmost edge of the Gerudo Desert in Breath of the Wild. Lake Hylia is in roughly the same location and roughly the same shape in both games. The Bridge of Hylia is also very similar in both games, though the Breath of the Wild bridge has been updated. The key to Lake Hylia is that it is south and slightly west of the castle and east of the Gerudo Desert in both games. Zora's domain is located north of the castle in Twilight Princess. This is unusual because in most games, Zora's domain is in the eastern part of the map. This could be a temporary location that Zora fled to after the Twilight began to invade. The location is likely in the vicinity of the Great Hyrule Forest or the area surrounding the Typhlo ruins. The location is logical since in Twilight Princess you follow a river to Zora's domain. The river is likely the Hylia River located here. The northernmost part of the river could be called the Upper Zora River because the Hylia and Zora rivers do combine north of the castle. The domain seemed to be surrounded by sheer cliffs in Twilight Princess. The domain has likely been destroyed by the removal of the Great Plateau from the area and the amount of time that has passed between the games. The Hidden Village, or Old Kakariko Village, is located on Death Mountain. The location has likely been destroyed by the time of Breath of the Wild due to the expansion of the Death Mountain caldera. The location of Goron City might be the most likely location of the Old Village. The Old Village and Goron City are both northeast of the castle in both games, in the vicinity of Death Mountain. Death Mountain and the Goron Mines in Twilight Princess are a little more north of the castle than in the Twilight Princess map, but this is the most likely location. This is because the mines are in a mountainous place that does not have a high amount of volcanic activity on the surface. Within the mines and the temple, there is volcanic activity, which indicates that it has to be close to the Death Mountain range. So placing the mines in a kala just south of Death Mountain proper makes the most sense. The new Kakariko village would then have to be close to the Goron mines. Putting the location of the village near the Akala Citadel would make the most sense. It would be in an area that is similar to the location in Twilight Princess. Lots of rocky hills and small mountains, and close enough to the mines that it would make sense for a village to be built near the mines. Also, it would be east of the castle, but like the mines, slightly north of the Twilight Princess map location. Ordon village is located southeast of Lake Hylia in Twilight Princess. Placing the village in the Furl plain near the Highland stable would put it in the proper location, as well as in an area surrounded by large mountains and some wooded areas. Again, the length of time that has passed would change the area, but this is the most sensible place for the village based on the location in relation to Lake Hylia. Finally, the Temple of Time is located due south of Lake Hylia in Twilight Princess, and likely located south of Lake Hylia in Breath of the Wild. The reason for this is when speaking to Russell, he speaks of a gorge that separates the temple from the forest. When going to the temple, you go through some sheer cliffs to get to the sacred grove and the temple. Placing the temple on the Barula plain fulfills this requirement of there being a mountainous area with sheer cliffs that lead to a flat area where a temple could stand. If you will remember in my Skyward Sword video, I placed Faron region in the south of the Breath of the Wild map. The sealed grounds and the sealed temple are in the same location. Remember also that in Skyward Sword, the sealed temple had the ability to open a portal to the past, much like Twilight Princess's Temple of Time. Also, when comparing the doors to the Temple of Time in Twilight Princess and the doors to the sealed temple, you will notice that both have a symbol on them. The symbol on the Twilight Princess Temple of Time door shows the standard loft wing that is seen in many of the Zelda games. There seems to be a pedestal in front of the loft wing symbol. Looking at the symbol on the Skyward Sword sealed temple door, there is a similar symbol on the door. Wings spread with a pillar in front of the wings. This could be an early version of what would become the royal crest of Hyrule. I believe that these bits of information help to make the Twilight Princess Temple of Time a continuation of the sealed temple of Skyward Sword, and placing it south of Lake Hylia. Using Hyrule Castle, Castle Town, the Arbiter's Grounds, Lake Hylia, the Temple of Time, and comparing it to the sealed temple, a compelling argument can be made that these and all other locations from the Twilight Princess map fit well within the Breath of the Wild map. Though I did not incorporate the sections of Hyrule Field onto the map, I believe that this again is a stylized map situation where certain areas of importance to the story are given larger scale than would be true in an accurate map. Again, please let me know if there was anything I missed, and thank you for watching. I will be covering A Link to the Past, A Link Between Worlds, The Legend of Zelda, and Four Swords Adventures in the next video in this series.